6:31. Suzanne Fairfax informed us earlier today that she is on vacation and will not be attending. All remaining trustees are present. I will call the roll. Trustee Rogers?
Here.
Trustee Foss?
Here.
Trustee Chakraborty?
Here.
Trustee Ganguly?
Here.
Trustee Blue?
Here.
Trustee Fruth is here. Next will be the approval of the minutes from our June meeting. Are there any questions, corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our June meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ted, seconded by Virginia. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Those are opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is public comment. I received no public comment via email or our web form. Rory O'Neill has signed in and indicated he wishes to make a public comment. Rory, please.
Hello, my name is Rory O'Neill, and my purpose for speaking tonight is to respectfully request a meeting between interim directors Lee Torillo and Susie Wolf and myself. The subject of that meeting would be our library's cleaning contract. On or about August the 21st, that contract will automatically renew. I ask that you not let that happen. Do not let that happen. I will make a case for ending the business relationship between Alpha and the Oak Park Public Library. At more than $180,000 a year, that cleaning contract is by far the largest service contract this library has. Should Alpha be awarded yet another contract extension, it would be a great disservice to the taxpayers whom you represent. They've got two already. And that's, again, I ask that two of you meet with me, hear what I have to say on this matter, and most important, look at the videotape evidence that I have that will show you they did not do the work. For the contract year 2021 through 2022, Alpha failed to service our floors as per contract, yet were paid in full for work they did not do. The minimum value of the work they did not do was $35,000. I am not the only one who knows this. That's very important. I'm not the only one who knows this. That's going to eat away at your integrity, eat away at this institute's integrity. Consider the amount, $35,000. How many of your constituents pay property taxes to that amount? How many years of property taxes would that cover for one or more of your constituents? Please meet with me. I will answer any questions that you have to the best of my knowledge. I will contact you both via email tomorrow. That's all I have tonight. Thanks for hearing me out. And guys, have a good night.
Thank you, Rory. Have a good night. We'll go on to trustee comments and calendar. We have this Saturday we'll have a booth at the farmer's market from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. I will be there at the start, but we should not have more than 2 of us there at a time to avoid any open meetings conflicts. Is anyone available to help staff that time? My daughter's birthday is in the afternoon, so I cannot do the whole block of time, unfortunately.
I think I can do 9 a.m.
For about how long do you think?
10:30, 11?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. No, it's fine. I want us to make sure when the next person should come.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yes.
So if you could do from 9 to 10:30,
Yes.
is there someone who can come at 10:30?
I apologize, but I'm out of town this weekend.
So that would be a company
So I don't know if that would work for very long.
Okay. Alright. Should we? Alright. Christine, I'm assuming you are unavailable. I'm not trying to guilt you into
No,
this,
it's okay.
I understand that you have a small,
No,
you
it's
have
not
two
even
small-
that, it's our block party.
Oh, yeah, I understand that.
Didn't realize when I first saw this date. But I could probably still do an hour. I would just rather it be in the morning, and you all have already said 9 a.m. for you and Monterey, so I don't know. What do you all think? Were you gonna
Could you
suggest
do-
something different?
No, I was, if it looks like it's gonna be a problem for us to coordinate this weekend, I hate to like back out at the last minute, but if it's something that we might be able to ask Jody to
And Jody's
reschedule.
off this week.
She is.
She is.
So-
I believe she's back on Thursday.
Then, I'll reach out to the farmer's market people tomorrow and
So
see if there's a
we'll pull out.
possibility we can pull out and reschedule for another day, because it goes till Halloween.
Oh.
So if there might be
How long are
another,
they wanting, like, what is the full? 9 to 1, I think. 9 to 1?
yeah. So, I don't wanna leave, I would prefer us to have like 2 people there, so no one is, by themselves. And, in the past when we've done it, it has not been like super confrontational with anything, but you just never know. And I would just prefer no one to be alone at the booth. I don't want that for anyone.
And I'm happy to fill in wherever needed, so.
Okay, so let me call in the morning.
Give me one day to check some.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah, but I'll start the conversation with the farmer's market and say, like, is there openings later that we could try and reschedule for?
Yeah,
I don't-
I wonder, I think it might even actually get a little bit harder as the summer ends. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, and I could do an hour or hour and a half, whatever. I think it's only 9 to 1. That's yeah.
Okay,
So if it's too difficult to move it, I'll figure it out.
okay. Okay.
So I'll just put down 9 to 10:30 unless I hear from you.
Yeah. Okay, so, all right, we'll have more follow-up tomorrow on that. Our regular board meeting for August is the 27th. School is back by then, so hopefully everyone's those of us with children, vacations will be done, if we had a chance to take them this year. Yeah. But does that still work for everyone? Okay,
Where will we be in the COIA process by
that
then?
will be coming up.
So will be after the 27th.
No, it's later on.
And the agenda, that's,
Yeah,
yeah, we'll address that there. Then, optional event, Wednesday, September 11th, the elected officials barbecue coordinated by the Park District. And then, the middle of October, ILA in Peoria. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe the registration just went live in the last week. If anyone's interested, I let Lee and Susie know, to handle any registrations for that. I don't know if they've released any of the programming.
They have, I saw
They did.
Billy's presenting. I saw Billy's presenting. Because I was looking for work, day job
Yeah.
stuff, we'll see, I might go.
Go for it.
If anyone's interested, I think Thursday was the trustee lunch.
Yeah, I think the third day is usually
And then
when the
there's like a
trustee stuff
breakfast
is,
at 1:2, I think.
so. Okay. Then, anything from anyone else on comments or calendar items? Okay. Interim co-directors report.
Just been kind of busy and kind of keeping things running and managing the book sale and, lots of summer vacations. And we're really looking forward to working with Koya.
So,
I know we talked about it before the general public joined us, but how did the book fair?
Good, and we'll report on it more in August, but I know that they were up 15% from the last year. So,
awesome.
Wow.
yes, and their wrap-up meeting has been changed from August 19th to August 12th. And yeah, they went really well. I had a debrief today with Russ, and so, it was a good year.
Awesome. How does the staff feel about it?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of good energy.
Yeah. I think, this was before my time, I haven't been here that long, but they just collected books for a month. And that actually worked really well. It was kind of a condensed timeline as opposed to collecting throughout the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think staff actually really thought that it was a more, you're just dealing with that for a month, and they got a great turnout.
I was gonna say, it's exciting to know that the collection can be just for a month and we can still have.
Yeah. I think when it's going on the whole time, people are like, I can drop it off at some point, but when you have this, I have to get this done by this date, people really seem to.
Yeah.
So didn't we used to have it timed? Did we have it in the last, just even in the last 4 years, have like a specific drop-off period and then we went to year-round or?
No, it was always year-round, and then when the issue with the availability of the high school
Right.
changed, it kind of changed of the focus of the ability of when to do that, because it would also be, the drop-off would shift from here to the high school entrance, and starting after the 4th of July parade is usually, it's like the 4th of July parade, and then whatever that Saturday is afterwards, it would shift there, and that entrance would just be flooded with like boxes and boxes of books, and a lot of it was garbage. But I think, so like that, having that as an availability option changed a lot of that nature and our ability to store stuff, and, once the high school became not an option, a lot of the approach to the event changed. So, all right. We have our staff reports.
So we have the strategic priorities report that is in your packet, and Lee and I were just gonna highlight a couple of things. Under the engagement section, in June, we hosted an artist talk and reception for Oak Park artist Marlon Tobias, whose work was on display in the art gallery. It was really beautiful if you had a chance to see it. And the moderator engaged the artist in a conversation and a question and answer session about his work, inspiration and process. The event attracted more than 50 people, a standing room only crowd that filled the art gallery, so wonderful to see. Both the artist and the art have been really well received, so it was a positive experience in the art gallery. And then also in June, our community engagement team partnered with the Oak Park Township and Grace Therapy and Wellness Center to offer free tickets to a screening of Inside Out 2 at the Lake Theater. A total of 125 tickets were available for pickup in the lobby, and a first come, first served basis, and they all had a wonderful time enjoying it. It was Monday night at the movie, so it was kind of cool. I think that was a time they were trying to get people in. Really wonderful, and you can see some comments from patrons who had a great experience. And then in learning, we had a number of the folks from the patron services team attend a Rails webinar entitled Working in the Gray Area, Boundaries for Library Staff, which provided information about setting healthy boundaries for library staff, focusing on relationship building between staff and the public. Staff found the information to be really useful, especially, understanding when they can be flexible and when they need to be firm with patrons. And the speaker, her name is Beth Waller. She spoke to our staff today on trauma-informed care. So it's kind of some work that we're doing to provide some training for our staff. Also with the patron services team in stewardship, they were able to locate some long-term missing items by kind of going through and doing some self-shelf checks. And they found 11 out of 55, which may seem like not a lot, but those were some things that have been looked for in the past. And then for anti-racism and equity, June we had LGBTQ+ Pride Month, so it's Pride Month. This was celebrated throughout the library in children's services. We did a Pride-themed scavenger hunt. In middle and high school services, they decorated the spaces in their library with bright decorations, messages of love and affirmation. We had displays of books. We just did a lot of things in the idea box. We had split it. Also, we honored Juneteenth, a holiday commemorating African Americans' freedom from enslavement. We had a bunch of different programs and resources. We had the idea box decorated. We had a film screening of Buffalo Soldiers, and the middle and high school team hosted a Juneteenth jam. So it was and then our collections team also curated a list of titles for that as well.
Wonderful.
So in learning, this month was the American Library Association Annual Conference. We sent several staff from multiple areas, including presenters. So community engagement librarian Sarah Yale did a poster session highlighting her outreach work with the book bike, called Book Bike Engagement, Peddling Resources and Building Connections Across Community. The collection team and the manager of collection services did a presentation about inclusive collections called Beyond the Audit, Embracing the Freedom to Read Through Curation and Promotion of Inclusive Collections. And both presentations were received very well. In stewardship, we talk a little bit about our pop-up shop that continues throughout the summer. Items available for purchase including remaining branded merchandise from our original sales launch and some new lower priced items, of which I'm told the baseball caps are like the most popular item. So through June 30th, 7 items generated over $1,000 in net sales in 4 in-library pop-up shops. And financial projections for July, December have been adjusted to reflect anticipated retail sales of $900 a month. So that's going very well. Also under stewardship, Special Collections Librarian Carrie Bacon has been shown in the staff spotlight. She's a part of Special Collections. She's been doing a lot of work on the open hours, working with marketing and getting the word out that now we have open hours for researchers to come in. She's gotten quite a few researchers who have let us know their appreciation of the work that she has done and making those materials available to them. And then in anti-racism equity, early learning librarian Shelley Harris, who just celebrated 18 years here at the library. Sparks engagement and awareness by crafting original content for the library digital channels. She's really dedicated to increasing access to learning. She did that through the pandemic. She works closely with the digital engagement manager, Ashley Bloor, and launched an on-demand video series of conversation activities for kids and their caregivers. Shelley is known for her strong commitment to disability awareness, and she does incorporate that into her digital content. She continues to have a measurable impact on the library's digital access, and she has 430 videos and over 50,000 YouTube views to date, so quite a bit. If you want to go down and look at our new core use statistics dashboard, we have started doing the quarterly dashboard. So you get a better idea of kind of monthly trends and where we're going in specific areas. So a couple of the highlights. You still see that same jump in the line graph of program attendance due to the solar eclipse. But you also do see community outreach has been trending upward because of the book bike season. And that remains at a higher level in June as relative to earlier months this year. We saw an uptick in new user accounts. Library cards in June with 437, the biggest month so far this year. For our net promoter score, the sort of zigzag pattern you're seeing in the monthly trend column is pretty expected. On a monthly basis, sample sizes are relatively small, and then the general trend ended up being pretty stable, between 80 to 100 throughout the year. So if you have any questions on that.
I like this format, especially the quick indicator of the year-over-year change
Yeah,
is helpful.
that takes all the seasonality out of.
Yeah.
It does, it kind of gives that sense of it. And seeing the monthly trend lines too kind of gives us that.
Yeah.
This is a really nice comprehensive approach to the information. I would just reach back to the mention of the pop-up shop. My daughters, when we were here for the book fair, saw the table and were like, oh, yeah, those bags are awesome. We need one. And both, and they were like, and one wanted the black one, the other one wanted the white one, and they were like, well, we each gotta have our own.
Yeah, they each gotta have their own map.
They did. It was very clear. And they continue to both use it. They have their reading stuff, bookmarks at home and stuff that they were doing in their bags, so in their room. So, but it was they were big fans. I did not have to push. They were like, oh my God. So.
Awesome.
I just wanted to echo how much I appreciate this, because I think every month I am like the idiot who's like, well, wait, how does this compare to, this, and what's the trend? And I am not asking that question. So, yay.
Yeah, we'll pass along that feedback.
Anything else from anyone? All right. Going into addition, termination, staff changes.
I'm sorry we had to terminate Bigfoot.
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned that. So Billy had said to me that this is one of the first months of his recollection that he can ever recall that there's been no terminations. I know you have issue with the word termination. And he did submit a request to Bamboo to reconsider it.
I appreciate it.
But yes, we've had no one leave the organization this month. And usually, with people leaving in assistants and,
Yeah.
interns and different things, there's always somebody. And so he was just, we get to see both Bigfoot.
Yeah.
A lot of temporary folks came on for the summer season,
Yeah.
so brace ourselves that in a month or two, we will be seeing
No more
them, but those are expected. So, all right, excellent. Then we'll go into our financial reports. Susie, is there anything you want to draw our particular attention to? I mean, everything looks good, given,
I see that we really have almost drained the art fund, because I can remember when it was much larger. And that's in part because of maintenance issues with the art collection.
Yes, so conservation is expensive, especially with public art on a public floor. But we have allocated a portion of the special collections budget to more conservation if we're trying not to drain that completely. But yeah, we are talking about kind of the future of that. And what we're going to do with that line and just in general about the public art, so.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about the financial reports?
How close are we to budget season?
It's coming.
Feels like.
Probably start preliminary numbers next month.
Yeah, we'll present it next month and we can talk. We just did the projections for the rest of the year, and right now we're building out, I think it's due next week, the budget for next year. So we'll have a worksheet we fill in.
I remember you wanted to meet with them.
So
Yeah.
that should be done, and probably we would meet maybe, like I can send you some dates. I'm gonna be out of town for a little bit, but mid-August, like before the board meeting, we can meet and we can show, but we have not done the actual projected budget yet.
Sure.
So then our goal would be to see it in September, approve it in October.
Yeah, see like a rough draft, like,
Yeah, we can present it in August, yeah.
like like draft 1 in August, revisions in September,
To get it.
approved in October, hopefully.
Right, because we try to definitely have it approved by November, right? Is
Yeah,
the-
so
is the
that,
goal.
yeah,
So
so that
that
the
we can
village can have it as part of their thing. There's legal guidelines as to how long the village is supposed to have before they approve their levy. And so us approving in October gives that and plus some, so that if anything comes up in October, we need to make a drastic change, we have time to implement that before the deadlines. And that way, November is kind of just more of our end of year meeting, and we don't have to meet in December.
Right.
Those are the goals.
Sorry, I had it might not actually be a budget question, but the reciprocal borrowing, is there a reason why that's higher? It said the lost books via reciprocal borrowing is at 85%. Is there
It's
something
just
specific? or-
people losing books from other libraries that
Okay.
lend out to.
Okay. But there wasn't like, I'm saying, like, we just joked about, we have everything here, like, what are we borrowing and then losing? But
I think it's the other way around, right? Like people are, like we're sending books through interlibrary loan to other libraries.
also,
And
it's us
those
sending
are
them
not-
there and.
That
people-
person over there.
Oh, I thought it was people were sending things here and we were losing them. I was like, neighbors, come on, get it together. Okay.
Well, it still is like neighbors come.
Macro neighbors, I think it was
Macro
micro
neighbors.
neighbors. Okay.
With that, if there's no other questions on the reports, I
I
would.
did have two questions on revenue and expenditure. Under revenue, the interest, what exactly is that?
The interest.
That all of a sudden we have 181,000, we budgeted 80,000.
Yeah, so we're getting more interest. It's a good thing. And I'll
The
talk
rates
a-
have been good for us. I mean, the rate
Yeah.
increases have just benefited us.
So,
And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about the Wintrust account and how we're gonna increase our interest in that. But yes, that's a good thing.
and then under administration, I'm concerned that going forward, we're going to probably be way over budget for legal expenses. So that's something to kind of
Yeah.
expect, and it's already happening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. With that, is there a motion to approve the resolutions on disbursements? Which begins on page 29. Goes through page 54.
Motion.
Moved by Christina, is there a second?
Second?
Seconded by Ted. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, that is approved. Thank you, everyone. Going on to additional reports, iGov.
I don't believe they've met actually since the last meeting, and Suzanne, neither of us have. Yeah, we
Sounds
haven't
good.
met since last time.
And COG has not met since our last meeting. Planet Green.
Planet Green, it's, I thought I was introducing Christina, our sustainability staff person, but she'd already been meeting with
Yeah.
Gary Coonan from Planet Green, so I'm glad, I hope that we can continue that, and I pushed again that one of the things that the library can do is to educate on these matters, whether it's getting a grant or about green energy. And I appreciate Matt's inclusion of that as well, because there are a lot of facilities questions that come up.
All right. We already kind of got the friends, I'm assuming we're not gonna get any.
No, and not until after the August 12th meeting.
It is August 12th. Yep,
Okay.
I wrote it down right.
All right. So, next item is unfinished business executive search. I've signed the agreement with Koya. They sent over their language. I requested a couple of changes in their initial language, which included a holdout of $5,000 won't be paid to them until we sign a director. And then they had a 1-year no contact clause with whoever we hire. I asked for 2, they gave it. And there was a third item about information related to Freedom of Information Act. And Britt Isley from Ansel Link wanted a little bit more specific language in that, and they included it without question. So those were the big 3 things, and I think there was one word, like one punctuation thing that I caught, which is rare for me. I felt very good about myself. But yeah, no, I was going to go to bat, especially on the 2-year thing, because I wanted us to have as much stability with our new director as possible, and I was really going to push on that 2-year no contact from them for us on that. So I met with Amber from Koya last week. We discussed the nature of the search committee, what their experience was, and I reached out to the board members who were interested in serving on said committee, and that will be Madhurima, Ted, and Suzanne. From Koya's experience, the search committee is usually 3 to 6 members. Once it gets above 6, it starts to get difficult to schedule, amongst other things, and it gets unwieldy of coordination of other information. We meet every 2 weeks. The initial part of it, they provided, pass this down to Lee and Susie. Is that right? Sort of, yes.
Thank you.
An expectations of document related to search committee members. The plan would be to meet every 2 weeks. Do you need another copy?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I expressed interest, but like kind of with the asterisk, so I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because their plan is to meet every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I didn't want to commit you to being part of the committee, but anyone is welcome to attend those committee meetings and participate. But in terms of the official members, it would be that I also spoke with Susie and Lee, and they're going to approach the management team about a member of the staff, of the leadership of the library being a part of the committee as well. The beginning of the process with the search committee will be coordinating, a member of the Koya team will be reaching out to coordinate meeting times. And the beginning of it will be working with the position profile, the candidate profile, as well as the job description, there will also be steps that involve Koya's team doing, I believe it was focus groups or at least conversations with members of the staff, members of the board, on what we're looking for in our next executive director. They will work on drafting that profile and job description, and they delineated the two. Amber delineated the two with me. The job description is more of our internal document for reviewing and holding accountable the executive director. The candidate profile, the position profile, is what we develop to use to present, to recruit candidates, to the library, to our community, to that. So they are related, but they are not going to be exactly the same thing. That they will the search committee and COIA will work together to create an initial draft of the profile. They will bring it to the committee for review. Staff and the board will have a chance after that first round of revisions to review. It will not get published, promoted, anything until the board approves it, but there will be ideally two rounds of revisions to it before it's finalized. One round with the committee, and then one round of revisions from the board and staff, as it's then for us to then look at and approve and send out. And of course, that is subject to change, but that is what their general plan and approach has been. Then the search committee will work as sort of like, as applicants begin to come in, work as sort of a calibration point with COIA as they do the initial screen of applicants as to who to bring in to do a first interview. They'll say, Joe, we're not bringing in. Jane, we are. Does this align with what we're looking at? And the search committee goes thumbs up, thumbs down on that, so that the team from COIA can really dial in as to what we're looking for.
Okay.
And then COIA will do that initial screen, and then the search committee will do, we will, delineate that timeline more, and the search committee will do that with them, and we will set up a meeting with the whole board and COIA team, hopefully before our next board meeting, but to kind of get that. But the search committee is the first part to really kind of get that piece going. There's also here a sample of a confidentiality agreement that is typical for search committees for both board members and staff members, just so that there is a level set of how the information is being handled, because there will be internal items, there will be names and resumes that are provided to, that are submitted, and we just want to make sure that everyone is working from the same understanding of how that information is being handled as we approach that process. So I will
So, Matt?
yes.
Yeah, you said the search committee is Madhurima, Ted, and Suzanne, and you, right? Or are you not on the search committee? Because you've also been saying we, so I'm just.
Yes, I will not be a voting member of the search committee. I
Okay.
do plan to participate as, the board president is like a non-voting member of all committees.
Okay,
I did intend to participate in the process, but I will not have a vote on any recommendations that the committee has to bring out in front of the whole board.
okay,
So I will, and as the meetings get posted, because there will be official meetings that get posted publicly, any member of the board can come and, participate in it, but they will not have a vote as well. And my request is that if you do plan to do that, as anyone else, that you also sign the confidentiality agreement, just so that everyone who is part of those conversations is operating under the same agreement and understanding.
thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? We're kicking it off, we're doing that, and so we will be, and
I'm sorry, I do have a question. I guess, what's the benefit of having, it sounds like we need 3 for a committee, right? But we can have up to 6. So is it better to have me as a 4th and knowing that maybe I wouldn't attend everything? Or is it better to have me as a non-voting member? I guess I could see it both ways.
I'm open to that discussion. I don't have, my concern was for your sense of responsibility I didn't want to put, with having small children and an infant, a small, that it might be difficult for you, so
Yeah.
I just want to be respectful of your schedule and what your family needs are.
I guess the way I see it is.
If you feel if you want it, I can.
Well, I guess I'm asking, like, if there were 4 of us and 3 of us could attend something, like, I guess, are we trying to have every single, this is a lot for even 3 people to do, like, you forget if I'm interested, this is a lot for you and who is it?
Suzanne.
And then you two?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
Well,
lot.
she's not here, so we can just assign a lot more duties. To her.
Part of me is like, did you all, like, because this was something I was asking last time, like, what are the exact, like, asks?
Expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did not, and when I sent the initial email, I will say, and I did not say this before, I apologize. I did not have this document when I sent the initial email to everyone, asking for who was interested. That's, and so I did not have this, and I had not yet talked with Amber about it.
Yeah.
So that's on me for asking for people's time commitment for having all of the information for you.
I think it's about
anybody
what I would
wants.
have expected. I guess my question, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but I am interested in attending or being a part of it, but I don't know that I can attend everything. So I guess my question is, like, are we trying to get the committee to attend every single thing so that there's continuity, or are we open to having kind of a rotating leadership if we have 4 people on, where we still would have 3 attend everything?
I think it's always best to have committees that are odd numbers, just because if you do have disagreements, it's a pretty quick tie. It would be very difficult to have 4 people and then 3 people and then different 3 people, and that creates an inconsistency.
Yeah.
Having just finished a search committee for the, a very similar pattern, nothing that you said is surprising. We met on about a bi-weekly basis. It's not necessarily a terribly intense commitment, but it is one of those things you have to be consistent. You have to make sure that you have stable schedules, and you can just commit to Tuesday, the first and the second, or the second and the fourth of the month, or whatever, and just really be there and committed for that hour or so. I applaud your dedication, but I do think adding a 4th person would add a level of complication. That is not me being a dictator and saying don't be part of it, but
I mean, we still have the option to be a part of it, just not vote.
You always have the option to show up,
That's totally fine.
but the inconsistency that it creates is one that I would warn against.
I feel far more comfortable having 3 members of the board identified who will
Set
be
the schedule.
Yes, that will be
And set
at
the
every instance of whatever this is, and the rest of us can pop in and out as we can to, feel how the process is going and make sure we feel like, this is the partner that we thought that they were, but I think it'll go much better if there's consistency. We've got the same 3 people hearing all of the things.
Okay. Yeah, I support it. I trust you guys. I also feel like I haven't been able to carry my weight lately with obviously everything.
Literally, you've been carrying the weight of another.
Pun intended.
I know.
You've been using your spare time to grow a pancreas or whatever,
I know.
I think you're.
But I do love interviewing and stuff. So if I can be of assistance some other way, let me know. Otherwise, I'll do
And
it
I think there might be opportunities once we start getting into the rounds of interviews for additional participation, because having all of that, and one of the things that Amber mentioned was making sure we have a diversity of experience and opinion in this, so that we are looking at each question and each profile and each person from a variety of lenses. That because it is, I believe her words were this community is a variety of lenses. We are coming from a variety of perspectives, and it's important that we have a difference. Not everyone is buddy and groupthink. When looking at these things, we need to have critical eyes when we look at it, and having that diversity And those later rounds will involve more than just the search committee looking at stuff, because it will have to. And those will be opportunities where all of us will be involved. But, you know, these initial steps of doing these, that'll be part of the process, so.
I think there's a chat, I don't know if, when that came up, I don't know if that's relevant.
I don't.
Is there, do we know how to check? Is it this thing right here?
Oh, good gracious.
Oh.
No, that's just the otter.
Oh,
Sorry.
I really hate that otter. It pops up and it invites itself into anything in my calendar, and I truly apologize. I'm sorry.
Matt, do we have any idea how much of this will be virtual time and how much will be in-person time?
I think that is a question to be coordinated with Koya.
Because Koya is not based here.
They do have,
I mean,
they do have people in Chicago, you know, but they do have people, like Amber is, I believe, located out west. So,
It
there
would
is,
have to be a public meeting
Yes.
if it's more than 3 people.
yeah. I mean, it will be a public meeting, but I think the question is whether it's in person or a virtual.
But
I-
can you
So
have
we would
a
need to schedule.
virtual committee meeting? Because wouldn't you
I
need
don't
a-
believe so. I think we would need to have
I
a
think you
quorum
need to be
of,
in
at least 2
person
people would need to
to
be present, I believe.
But you don't need to record it, because we didn't record the
Right.
original, so
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to, you could just meet in this space, and then we can set up
A Zoom,
the
Yeah.
Zoom.
yeah.
Right.
So, and that'll be coordinated with the committee, and Koya on that schedule based off that. But yeah, the expectation is meeting every 2 weeks, at least the beginning, to get, you know, so there's a consistent workflow and momentum, and as these things get checked in on these processes, get rolling. Yeah, and so that was that conversation and where we're at, and we're underway. And I have to follow up with them. I did ask them what documents, you know, what kind of historical documents they would want from us in terms of past job descriptions that we've used and stuff like that. I did not hear back yet, but I needed to follow up. I meant to follow up earlier today, but I will do that first thing tomorrow. Because it was part of our conversation of that process, was looking at our past ones. And I asked, you know, sent an email saying, hey, what specifically do you need from us? And I did not hear back yet, but there was, you know, nothing happening over the weekend, so.
Do you have like a file or a binder or a group of documents from like past searches? Because if we don't, I think whoever's
Do
on,
you want my notes?
no, I was gonna say whoever's on this next search committee, well, I guess Suzanne will do it because she's not here.
Yes,
Right. To kind of create
I
like,
think she volunteered. in
She
that
volunteered.
section.
She is an attentive note taker.
yeah, she
Yes,
is
that's
a very, yeah, there's a reason she's our secretary.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say it would behoove her to create like some kind of like
Binder.
binder or like conglomeration of these papers, especially because I get the distinct impression that the process from last time and the process from this time might be a little bit different, and it might be important to kind of have that documented and whatnot, because in 20 years, while your daughters will be on the board, I do not intend to be on the board.
You say that now.
They'll want to know, because, yeah, as different as this will be
It's a really important thing.
from our last
Yeah.
search, the last search was
Right.
that different from previous
Previous
search.
searches. And I will tell you, having just completed the search for a new rector at our church, like, that binder is like amazing, because like, great, I mean, I guess I'm gonna plug in for my church, but like, one of the things that they did is like, from the 10 years ago they had the binder, and that binder had stuff from like going back from like the 70s where they like kept all their notes and tracked stuff. And so we knew exactly what we were getting into, where we're like, okay, this is the profile, this is the job description, this is, and we had like a really amazing resource. And that is a gift that we can give to your daughters when they're elected.
I agree. Like I worked on the executive director evaluation and the survey and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was doing that, I was thinking that there needs to be some kind of central repository where we can like upload documents or whatever it is, so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel
Right.
Yeah.
every
Exactly.
year or every so often or whatever. I think that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess my question is there one? Do we know if there's like a?
I think the answer is not yet,
Yeah.
but I think that's something that you're going to.
Oh, yes, right.
Right?
But because I didn't know, I don't think it should be just like a regular Google Doc, because it'll have
Right.
Oh, yeah,
information
no,
that's
no.
relevant to.
Yeah.
But we do use, Google Drive that, that for the library.
Yeah.
That we can use for, this, to.
For library work, yeah.
Yeah, for library work, that would make it as a sensible place to maintain those documents, because then it's also being held by the library and not in a box in one of our basements that gets flooded.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, that's one of those things that was like, oh my God, this is amazing, and it just helped.
I can imagine it's
So
easier to
much.
be like, oh, we know now in this environment that won't work, so we need to focus our efforts on
Right.
this piece rather than,
Right.
it looks like everything else here.
Yeah, but even just like having that historical background of okay, this is a survey that the congregation did, and this is how long the survey took, and all of those pieces is a really wonderful, you need some sort of repository.
Yeah.
And I would say I am still very much a old-fashioned paper gal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a literal binder or a literal file.
Print it off later.
Yeah.
We have printers.
Right?
I had a financial concern in the contract with incidentals, because it was kind of open-ended. And so we had the 50,000 plus, and then the incidentals, there was no cap put on that. So, do we have any idea what that's going to be? I mean, is this going to be with travel and those kinds of things?
I think that'll be based off my conversation with Amber, it'll be up, there will be a certain level of our discretion on that, especially when it comes to travel, and having staff come in. They do have staff that will be part of our team in the Chicago area, so that if we want their presence at a meeting, we can do it also virtually, as we have them Zoom in for, as we met with them. And then before, but they will have staff in here, as they said that one of their staff members is from the Oak Park area, that will be able to attend. So yeah, well, we do have
discretion.
We do have some discretion. It's not a blank check.
Great, yeah.
Regarding the historic documents, I feel like that is such a librarian archivist job. So I feel like there's got to be some good examples out there. So maybe Rails or ILA or somebody would know. There's got to be somebody doing it.
I think. Yeah, because in the past it was, both times were done by consultants outside. So I think a lot of those documents exist, a certain amount of that exists outside the organization. We have stuff in emails that we could probably pull together from our last search and pull into an archive in a Google Drive and say, okay, here is our search from this year. And then maybe I can pull together stuff from, the prior search to see if I still have stuff in emails. And I can even do that, and then we can use those as a touch point.
Because I was remembering, trying to find the job description for the,
Last time.
as a way to make sure that the any evaluation that we did was based on what we said the job was, you know, and that, of course, we didn't have that just handy, you know, we
Yeah.
did have to go mining into our emails to find it, so
Yeah,
it does seem like a thing that we should
be better about.
All right, down Google folder, Drive. Google
Yeah.
folder.
Or, you know, and I'll start digging through my emails for those documents. I know my wife is as me, I don't throw anything away, and that also means I don't delete a lot of emails. I recently dumped a bunch of emails from another organization I was involved with in 2009.
Yeah,
I
and
found
keep
out-
in mind that, working notes are not necessarily, those are private because those are work in progress, those are not final decisions. It's the final decision that is the document that is available and open to the public, but make sure whatever your final decision document is something you're comfortable with, that doesn't be like, oh, his breath was horrible,
Yeah. And that's the one, and that's a key piece as we move forward with this. There will be certain aspects of what we do that are subject to public disclosure and Freedom of Information Act. There are other items that are not, but we should all be mindful and intentional about what we choose to document and how we document it, because it's a reflection of this organization when things get out.
And I was gonna say, I know one of the things that I did with the evaluation committee for the proposals is everyone had a number, so each evaluator had a number, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, Suzanne had a beef with this one, and Ted loved this person, and Maya really liked this proposal. So it's a way to kind of make sure there's an open, transparent process while still maintaining
A guard.
a guard.
Process.
So it's like, we're completely visible, we're completely open, but we're also not it's not like one candidate's gonna find you and be like, why don't you give me the thumbs up,
Exactly,
right?
because not everyone takes it well when they don't get
That is
selected.
correct, that is
So-
correct.
All right. Everyone good? All right. With that, speaking of selections of vendors, staff survey. We had discussed, this discussion began back in January. As in one form, it is now, I think we're at a point where that conversation has, and what the intent and what we're hoping to gain out of it may have shifted slightly or greatly into a complementary process that will work in hand with COYA as part of collecting feedback from staff about where we are as an organization currently and what they are perhaps hoping to see in the next executive director. Our last conversation about this, we had two proposals. One from Yardstick Management, which was part of Diversified Search Group, which also is the umbrella organization over COYA. And then Holistic, which was a Chicago-based group. The Yardstick proposal was $15,000, the Holistic was $12,000.
But that was just, Holistic had a couple of different options.
They did have a couple of different options. The one-time survey was $12,000. Then a survey, then if we did that plus a follow-up survey of same scale, would be $18,000. Or we could do a solution of a per month subscription package, which would be a one-time survey plus other engagement surveys with the staff, and that would be $2,000 a month. But my my take on that, and welcome to discuss that, would be, I feel like that kind of commitment would be something that the next executive director would want to look at and recommend for how staff engagement is done under the next director. But the principal proposals of these two were one-time surveys with 12,000 and 15,000.
Is there any benefit to using yardstick now that we've chosen Koya? Or does it matter?
I don't. I personally don't think that there's an intrinsic value to it. I don't know that, especially not for the difference of $3,000. I will say that Holistic did say that they would set aside time to, if the advantage of having Yardstick is that they are under the same general umbrella and they could work, there are some barriers that would work together. Holistic did say that they were, as part of their package, would make sure that they set aside scheduled time with any finalists, any group of finalists, of candidates that we have, to set aside a half hour, whatever we want, to go through their findings with those candidates as part of our interview process with those, so that their staff would walk through the survey results, so as part of that, so that they could make sure. And when I mentioned that to Amber at Hoya, she thought that was a fantastic thing that they were offering for that.
So one of the selling points of the Koya proposal was that it had incorporated into it kind of a staff survey.
It was feedback. It was more focus group than survey. Then, like, this would be an anonymous full staff survey with full analysis of those results. And it would be broader, I think, than specifically, like I said, I don't want to put words in Koya's mouth, but my understanding is like the Koya perspective is coming at it from strictly a executive director search and job description and profile. And if we're looking for satisfaction and health of our organization as a whole, then we need a different tool than what Koya is proposing as part of their executive search.
And so what we're hoping to do is have it help inform our search and help with the transition of a new leader to like come into a library and say, this is what the reality is.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a couple of questions. One is that I feel like I don't know what the solution is, but I feel like I do not want to give up on the thing that I've been saying actually since November, which is that if a board like us, if we're expected to do an annual survey of the executive director, and part of the rubric that we use to assess the executive director's efficacy is their management of staff, right? That the only way we get information that's accurate about that piece is through something like a and that's where this conversation, in my memory, that's where this conversation started.
I think that's
Was
where
that-
the Holistic's offer of the 2,000, like the repetitive, I think.
But that's like
where that came
$2,000 a month, like, so we would be doing this, I feel like neither proposal has a way for me to visibly see a version of this, not something, what we need right now is something extensive and comprehensive, but we need like a scalable downways version that is part of an annual process.
I do want to interject and say, you guys are aware that we do survey staff twice a year. The NPS survey, the results were
Yeah.
included in the board packet. So
No, we're aware, but I think
What's in
as a board, one of the things that we had decided or had a pretty thorough conversation about was a survey that came directly to the board.
to the board, I understand.
And who the very clear and very transparent purpose of which was just on the ED's evaluation. Does
And
that make
that's a
sense?
360 review, which is different. Like, so that's a common thing that some directors use, boards use to evaluate the directors, a 360,
Yeah,
you know, when they're doing the evaluation piece. But I will say, you know, the reason, you know, in your letter, you guys promised a staff survey.
Yes.
So staff are looking to Lee and I
yeah,
and demanding this, and they're not
Yes.
quite understanding that it is not us.
that's
It's
not
not
doing the staff
delivering
survey.
But we
I'm
are-
sorry for that,
We are taking that on the chin.
yeah.
So we have been trying to educate staff that like that is not something we control, brought it to Matt's attention. You know, I think folding it into the COIA process makes the most sense because you are not evaluating a director right now, but if you wanna, like the NPS survey is a cultural survey, that's where we are as a culture, but you're not really evaluating a director. So
I think
assessing those out.
doing one now also gives us like, I don't wanna say like a neutral palette, but it gives us a neutral palette of, okay, when we do have someone in that seat, what do we want these questions to look like for a 360 review?
Sure, so I'm sorry, I don't know if I don't mean to say that we need something that's completely different from these two things. We have to make a choice today about which of the two proposals, and I think that we should be moving on that. I think that we're very delayed, in fact, in delivering the thing that we promised
I think
months ago.
the thing that you're asking for, I don't think either of these are gonna fulfill that.
Right,
I
so I don't want, the concern that I wanna air is that as we decide on one of these two things, I don't wanna lose sight of like a mini version of this, a mini version of an evaluation, which we need to be able to deploy. Do you know what I mean?
And I
Because,
think that could be part of, as the search process, is making sure as we look at a position profile or a job description, and we mention about an annual review, we can make sure that that is included, that this annual review will be a 360 review, which will include a staff survey, and that way we are making that commitment publicly and to the candidates, and it's a way of holding ourselves
Yeah.
accountable. So I think that.
including the mechanism, because again, I feel like when we started talking about this in November, when we knew that we had an ED evaluation coming up, what we started realizing was that a staff survey takes a long time and wouldn't give us wouldn't work according to the timeline that we promised to have the ED evaluation, right? So again, it's July, so I just don't want it to be,
No, I
you know,
hear you.
yeah, so I don't want us to be last minute again, so like when
No,
we're
I think-
doing a staff survey.
Right, but also for something, looking for that only one of the vendors provided us with an option for an ongoing process. And I think that once we engage this, perhaps we go out and look for and begin to collect feedback or bids specifically about that. Like we make this decision tonight and craft, God, I don't want to do another RFP, but it's like, craft something that looks at specifically that piece, and look at that from that lens, and we can start it now. We can start that in August, and not let it. And
Not wait until last minute, but
not wait until we have a candidate that we're looking at to begin to find a search.
We also now have a
Certain-
partner, like we have COIA as a partner, they may have ideas that they can give us.
Yeah,
They may have
I'd like
ideas
to-
that they can give us, like, we're sitting here saying, let's not reinvent the wheel, let's make ourselves some, cheat sheets for, our future generation, like, let's leverage their, this is not their first rodeo, let's see if, okay, this is what we wanna do now, this is what we're trying to do for the staff now, this is what we need to do immediately.
Yeah, well,
But
we
this
needed
is
to do
also
it a
what
few
we
months
want to
ago, yeah.
do, so in light of you helping us to find a person to fill this seat, can you also help us craft how we will evaluate them a year from now as well?
Yeah,
And see if that's something that, they
I think
have
that's
resources on.
an excellent idea, thank you.
We will not lose sight of it, I promise you.
I'm just worried about that because it does feel like that was like 7-8 months ago now, and I don't, and
Well, I think the purpose
has changed a little bit. Like, I think that it's very typical that when you're doing a search in this manner, you do have a staff survey as like a good level set for like what you're going into. Like, that was something that was one of the first things that like the greater church made us do as a congregation, and that's something that they make every congregation do when they start a rector search. So it's like a very similar, not that I'm saying that we're all gonna hold hands and sing kumbaya here, but like, I think that that's a good level set when you're starting that
Oh, sure,
search.
again, and again, I'm talking about,
The next one.
I'm talking about
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and, not, I'm
Not
talking
and.
about instead of,
Right,
you know, like
yeah.
I'm saying that this is what we need, we have this acute situation,
Yeah.
the survey was promised, we promised a survey months ago, it should be coming, but also there's a chronic problem that I don't want us to lose sight of until it becomes an acute problem again.
I mean, but I think that answers one of our questions, which is we are no longer looking at options B and C with holistic. That we are
Yes.
just looking at option A from holistic and the option from yardstick.
Yardstick.
Yeah,
Okay.
And we promised you a staff survey, right?
You know,
we did in writing,
Yeah.
we
You
promised it in
did.
writing in February
wasn't,
or March.
Yeah.
you did,
Yeah,
Or even
months
five.
ago.
Thank you.
there were 3 promises.
Yeah.
Or the-
Yep, there were 3, and we have not followed through on any of them yet. So, at this point, does anybody, I did bring hard copies of both proposals if anyone would like to look through them real quick, but otherwise,
I mean, okay, so about the proposals themselves, I feel like, obviously holistic is cheaper, which is a significant factor right now. But I didn't get a sense of what the process was going to be. Like, I feel like from Yardstick, there was a sense of what they would actually do, Do you know what I mean? Like in holistic, I think they said 2 months or something, but a one-time survey, 2-month process, but I'm not sure
I have to find my notes.
what all that included. So it says thorough assessment of staff engagement and organizational dynamics, analysis and reporting of results, recommendations. I mean, excellent, but that is what, I just feel like that's,
That's the definition of the thing.
yes,
Yeah.
right.
It is, actually, let's see if I can find my, I couldn't log in here, so let's see if I can find my notes on that.
Do you two have opinions?
I mean, I have to say from numerous staff are really interested in this, like, this has not died down since March, so.
That's good to hear.
But I also think, like, I keep in mind the financial, you know, and $12,000, $15,000 is a lot on top of a $50,000 search, you know, I think the NPS survey is a really good way to gauge culture, and the results are in there, and like, we are meeting tomorrow to talk about those results and see what we can do about them. I think to Madalena's point, like, building in a metric of evaluating a director now is probably gonna be more beneficial in the long run. I do think you shouldn't wait for a year, you should be doing a 6 months evaluation of the director, you know, the new director, so that you're touching in. And maybe Koya can build something where you could work with one of these other companies to build something so that you are ready to go, because 6 months will hit sooner than you think. And that process could be running, you know, this is what we were actually looking for, was a way to evaluate the director, because that is your.
I also think for any candidate coming into this situation, given the amount of press, and Susie, I apologize for cutting you off,
No,
you kind of inspired me.
Yeah.
Is that us having that rubric and that metric is going to give a level of stability to a strong candidate. Because that was an unfortunate reality of how people were able to skew a lot of what they couldn't see, right? is, and I think that us saying, hey, this is what we as a board have agreed to, this is how we're going to do it. You should take a look at it and you should tell us what you think, and we'll listen to your feedback and we'll figure this out and we'll work together. And I think that would lend a really important stability to a candidate. And that's what we want. That's what we want for any candidate coming in, is to give them that stability and that support.
So, I couldn't find an email, I think I wrote it down and I shared it with you from my written notes. It is a process of, it was, from my recollection of, similar to the other firms, of developing the questionnaire. They have a base pool that they work from, that they would share with us, and we would have the option of adding, refining, dropping questions as we saw fit based off our need. They would work with whatever search firm we chose to help craft those as we looked at the search. They house all the data offsite out of our system so that it's anonymous to everyone inside the library. They do a communication ahead of time to let everyone know that the survey's coming, so that they know that it's legitimate, that it's coming from their source. And once they start doing that, they do a couple rounds of contact to let hey, here's the survey, hey, don't forget to fill out the survey, hey, don't forget to fill out the survey. And then they make phone calls from their office to staff members if they're looking at low response rates, to walk people through their concerns, and try to address any questions or concerns that someone on staff might have about confidentiality, about how is this going to be used, how is it going to be analyzed, and stuff like that. And they will take steps, depending on the size of population of within a department or a work group, to not share breakdown in that department.
Sure.
Because if there's only 2 people who respond from a given area, because there will be both multiple choice and open-ended questions in it, that not to give away someone by a writing style, inadvertently by that.
I appreciate that, thank you. Because it seems to me that I don't have a sense of how much the staff are going to be engaged by the firm that does that creates the survey. Like, I don't know how much Holistic is going to engage with the staff beforehand.
Sure.
Which I do know about Yardstick, because they say 6 to 8 employees, including key leaders, which is not us, we're not employees. On the other hand, I have no idea about how much time Holistic is going to take, but how much time Yardstick is going to take, but we do know that Holistic is going to take 2 months. Does that make sense?
They didn't put in there, I'm looking at the notes that I sent months and months ago when I spoke with them, but they said 6 to 8 weeks is about right for the timeline.
For them too, for Yardstick?
So we're looking at, I'm gonna say 2.5 months because it's summer. But
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
2.5
that's
months for
realistic,
both.
but that's what they both
Yeah.
have said.
2.5 months, 13K, 15K. The 13K though has the possibility of, morphing and changing, and we would add on the 2,000K.
But so does Yardstick
Oh,
also has
Okay, is it-
optional things that they could do.
Okay.
There's post, feedback training and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Okay.
so the money is of course different. Again, it's just the Holistic, I don't have a sense of how much they're going to engage, especially with staff, before they put this together.
Would it be awful for us to go back to Yardstick and say, we've chosen Koya, lower your price by 3K?
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know how they work, because it is like the Versailles group,
thought
partners
is
is
like-
like the overarching umbrella, but then Yardstick and Koya I thought were offshoots.
Okay,
That's how
I'm
I
just thinking
did.
if the streamlining
I know,
is taking
I
effort
know.
off, does that mean?
It's worth asking.
We get a bundled
But
discount.
I mean, we had developed those questions as a board. I went through them all and I sent the notes. I haven't seen those notes for holistic, so it's hard for me to compare. I don't think like I know we have the proposals, but like Rima mentioned, there's things missing to me.
Yeah, I had the answers, but I wrote them down, I didn't type them up, so I shared them when we met, so I'd have to go back and pull up the notes.
But if we're leaving, I mean, I know we need to make a decision too, I think. I'm afraid to go another month without this one. I don't know, because $2,000 in our library budget is not significant, but.
Three,
Three.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 12 and 15.
Okay.
So it's 1/5.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. I feel more confident in yardsticks, but I don't feel like I know enough about holistic, so that's where I'm at.
I'm trying to find notes, Matt.
Yeah, I looked in mine, I couldn't find it.
I'll say, I feel a little bit more confident in Yardstick because it does have things laid out more plainly. I also feel like, and this might be a massive assumption, that Yardstick and Koya will have better means of working together if there's not any sort of conflict of interest between the two. Like they're not competing for any aspects of our business. They're under the same umbrella.
Well, Holistic doesn't do any executive search.
No, but they do training and after for people who would be chosen for the position, right?
The Holistic,
Wasn't that part of what Yardstick said?
Yeah, and,
so,
Trainings and workshops, leadership workshops, board and executive
they do
leadership
have
team
executive
training.
director hiring support, yeah.
Mhm.
Leadership surveys, benefits analysis.
and here, in addition to the survey, they authorize support for executive director hiring process, conducting DEI interviews to ensure a diverse and inclusive hiring process, delivering presentations on survey findings, providing post-hiring strategic decision-making. So,
Can I ask the two of you, again, I know Ted already asked what you thought, but given that there's this like $3,000 difference, I'm just wondering what, I don't know, if you have thoughts about one proposal over the other, or you think
Yeah, it's
there's
been a while
something that,
since I've read them.
It's been around since I've read the proposals. At this point, while I'm doing the budget, I would
Yeah.
say my inclination is to come with the cheaper.
okay,
You could also try to negotiate down.
I was gonna say, I kind of want to
Sorry.
try to negotiate down.
You can say, we're considering these two offers, would you be able to do it? Or could you do a modified search, or what could you do for this amount of money?
That's a good idea. Would that come from us? Like, because I've been the primary contact from Yardstick, would that come from me, I guess is my question, or would that come from?
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay.
I also really want to be mindful that I don't want to wait and make this decision. Do you know what I mean? Like, we keep pushing it and we
You
meet
could
only
say,
once a month,
you could
right?
make
So I
a
don't want to be.
motion.
I was gonna say, we could
Pending-
approve it today pending their acceptance of our
Negotiate
adjusted
offer.
fee.
What rate would you want to offer them?
This is a public meeting, so.
I say they have to match it, they have,
Yeah, I was gonna
they
say,
have to,
No,
They
no,
have to
it's
ma-
funny,
they have
it's
to
like
match
they
it
could watch
12,000.
it, is what
I'm
I'm.
sorry, yeah.
But yeah.
I
Yeah.
think matching the other offer, the
You think
difference.
that matters?
Or even just,
Yeah, and I know it's partly on me because I was the one who met with Holistic and I don't have my notes with me, but based off the information, I think Holistic's just, even as money aside, if they were the same, I'd still go with Holistic. But if Yardstick if the board's decision is to go with Yardstick, if they can meet the price, I'm comfortable
Wait,
with it.
but say more.
Yeah, say more about
What makes
holistic.
you feel confident in holistic, I guess?
It was, their team has a history of working both inside and outside of government, of like done a lot of surveys with public entities, worked for the state, he's, the CEO's worked for the state, he's worked for the county. The other person I met worked for, she also worked in government, so they have the sense of, surveying of what inside of a government operation, and not just general public polling, private sector motivations. For me also, the two things that jumped out at me was their commitment to make personal phone calls to staff who had questions, to answering emails about walking staff through the process and making sure that staff had confidence in the anonymity and the seriousness of the process, and their commitment to meeting with finalists of a search, and this was a proposal, and this was a conversation at the end of March. So this was right on the heels of our decision. So we were in the process of drafting an RFP, and they were committing to meeting finalists and working with whoever search firm we hired. I'm not saying that Yardstick won't work with Koyev, of course they will, but they were like, we will absolutely work hand in hand with them. So it's just, the sense of the conversation, the one-on-one conversation I had with them, and their approach to how, between housing the information and that we wouldn't see it, any of the response raw data, that we would see the report, and that they would make sure that the open-ended responses were not presented in a consistent way, so that we could track people across answers, so that it would be, they were going to do every step they could to, that no one could trace anything back to an individual employee. And so that's just my sense of it, but I think, and I'll be open with it, it's probably because I talked with them. And I acknowledge that.
But that's fair. I think that's the information I'm missing from this proposal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hearing your confidence in it, I think the two proposals are pretty comparable. If we have that confidence in the cheaper option, then let's do it.
I will say, looking at their websites, Holistic has nonprofits and Yardstick has corporations. And I would not have noticed that had it not been for your statement.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's value from those different perspectives, and I think it's just a matter of where we're at with it. If I'm the minority on this decision, I'm comfortable with that. I don't know that most of our decisions around this table are unanimous. They don't always have to be. I'm okay losing on this one. But I feel like we need to move forward. If the majority of the board wants to move forward with Yardstick, contingent upon them matching the price, cool. If we want to go with Holistic at their price, cool. But I feel like we need to make a decision tonight.
I think that second thing is where I'm
Contingent on meeting the price bit. I don't want the answer to be no, and then we're essentially back where we are right now.
Yeah, I'd say what do others think? I feel a lot better after hearing Matt speak more about Holistic, but what's everyone else think?
So, I'm sorry, but were you going to propose a solution, or, were you going to say, I think we should do this? It felt like you were about to.
I motion for us to, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. No, it felt like I felt like before you deferred to what do you think, you were going to say what you thought.
I don't have a strong opinion. I think they're really comparable. I think survey creation isn't that complicated. I trust both these groups to do it. So I trusted Yardstick more. I mean, I had the conversation like Matt. I think when you talk to these people, like you just are sold a little bit more. Because I do trust, like, I know when we talked about questions, like one of the big things that we emphasized as a board was like who holds the data, privacy, all of that. And I felt really comfortable with their answers and how they talked about, you know, that a survey creates more work. Like they just realistically got it, but so did like both parties that you spoke with. So I think that's just, if you are in this world, that kind of better be your answer. And so I feel good about both. So if we, sure, I will motion to, what do we say, choose Holistic as our vendor?
Yeah, select.
I'll second.
There we go.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to select Holistic to perform our staff survey. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
I said, I'm sorry.
No. I just wanted to make sure. It's like, 'cause I know we had a discussion, there was back and forth, and I wanted to make sure I gave everyone a chance to really voice if they did not feel about it, because I was like, I'm okay being on the losing side, so I just want to make sure everyone was comfortable saying, what their feelings were. Any abstentions? Okay, the motion is approved, Holistic. I will notify them and connect them with Susie and Lee about getting started with, and all of us about beginning that process and survey creation and feedback, and tell them, put the pedal down, let's get this rolling.
Let's get the clock started on the 2 months as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get that rolling. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Are we able to rearrange items on the agenda?
Yes.
I would then move that we go ahead and try to tackle the closed session before we do the new business.
Can we do the wind trust quickly first?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. So next item will be new business. Item A, approve the opening of the money market account with Wintrust Bank.
Yes, I can give you guys some context for this. So, trying to put my notes on this. We've already opened the account, but the bank requires proof that the board is aware and approves this action via our minutes. So we'll have to send our minutes over to them to ensure that. And so just some context, for many years, the library had about 200K sitting in a money market account earning 0.25 interest with US Bank. Our manager of accounting and finance, Linda, knew we could do better. And so she worked with Intrust to open a max safe public funds money market account earning 5.428. So big difference. So we hope to see that interest.
Christina's eyebrows is represented.
I'm sorry.
0.25 to 5.28.
Place when I wrote
Yeah.
It was
this.
like, kind of like a,
5.03 difference.
That's a big difference.
that's huge.
Yeah, 5.03.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
And Wintrust has a branch on Lake. I actually went in there to deposit some coins, and they sent me a follow-up email being like, we're so excited to have you as customers, you know. I said that I worked at the library. And so I think it's nice that it's a local branch, and, you know, Wintrust is a, okay, so. But if you guys want to just take a vote, we can put that in the minutes.
Is there a motion to approve?
So
Second.
Moved by Maya, seconded by Virginia. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? It is approved.
do Christina's eyebrows get a separate vote?
That was,
I think, well, no, I shouldn't. Never mind.
when Susie and Lee told me about this, when we met last week about, kind of just, meeting to talk about the agenda, I think I had a similar reaction, but I think mine was like how far my eyes popped. I was like,
She said this was, who, Linda?
Linda, who's our, she's awesome.
So
She's
she's
on
like,
the
yes, can we say-
yeah.
Can we send that to the minutes?
She's done a lot of really great work on trying to get our finances back on track.
excellent.
Fantastic.
I'm
Thank
reminded of Peter Thiel, the billionaire.
Oh, my God.
He
Let's
took
not.
$1,900 out of his Roth IRA and he will have $5 billion tax-free when he retires from that $1,900 investment.
Retirement is such a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't think he's worried about it. All right, there is a motion to adjust the agenda to, by Virginia to move closed session up as our next item. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, second, if we can use the bathroom before
I'm
session.
already questioning.
Yes, okay. Is there, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. It is approved. All right, before we do that, because it'll take a time to transition into closed session. So is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
It is moved and seconded. Christina, yes or no?
Yes.
For closed session? Yes. Virginia?
Yes.
Ted?
Yes.
Marino?
Yes.
And Matt is a yes. We are going to be entering closed session. We'll give a chance to turn off the recorders and the Zoom, and people can take a bathroom break while we do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I saw Christina.
Open session. It is 8:57. We have two items of new business related to policy items. Is there anyone who wants to make a motion regarding these items?
Yes, I'm going to move that we table these for next month and that we all take a deep dive and look. I will personally apologize that I did not send my questions. I will try to send more detailed questions. I had a lot. I had too many that I didn't feel like I could reasonably put together. And then with the other items that we had in closed session, I do not feel like we all have the mental bandwidth to tackle both of these this evening.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Do you feel that we could handle, like,
No.
Okay, because I just was gonna say the internet use, information systems use policy, I personally felt was a little bit of an easier lift, and having had to be dealing with a breach that affected one in every five Americans, because somebody didn't do a proper password authentication. There's a part of me that would really like to move forward on that one.
Social media policy is a brand new policy, so there is a distinction. And the second, the information, what are we calling it now?
Information system use policy.
Is an updated policy for a policy that hasn't been updated in since 2002. So the lawyers were kind of amiss that, we were a little behind on our policy revisions, and so so if you did want to examine that, that is just an update to an existing policy, something that we should be, looking at to stay current, and then tabling the social media, but whatever.
I know previously we had copies that would show the old version and then what the updates were. Is that?
So we have a transition. Our IT director has resigned, and so he was in the midst of doing that, so he wrote it without revisions.
Okay.
I believe, is that correct? Lee is now under overseeing IT, so I don't talk to him in his capacity.
I feel like that's even more reason for us to.
Yeah.
Can we just get the old copy? I'm happy to look between the two and find the differences.
Or I can like compare PDFs or something and run out track changes or something, that I'll be able to do that, so if.
That'll help us narrow down.
It's on our
what's
website, you said?
already.
Yeah, I can send it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's fine.
And in the meantime, would everyone, for questions, because this was written in conjunction with the attorneys, so Susie and Lee might not be able to answer everything immediately, but they may need to run stuff, get answers from the attorneys. So if everyone could look at them and send questions you might have, and then we can discuss those questions and the responses ahead at our next meeting.
Can I get some clarification about what kind of questions? Because, you know, if there's like some, I believe that if there are like, let's say, philosophical concerns, then that's something that's a board discussion, right? So are there particular kinds of questions that are, what are the kinds of questions that are most effective to send to you earlier versus keep for a board level conversation?
I mean, I think you can just send whatever questions you have.
And then if staff or the attorneys are not gonna answer it, then,
You know, Matt sent a question, and it was somewhat philosophical. It was using the word respect, right? And he just felt like, well, you can obey a policy, but you don't necessarily respect a policy, or respect
A law,
A law.
like in trademark and copyright, it was like the staff will, with respect, you know, as they respect the law, and I was like, my referee hat was, I had to enforce rules I didn't like, you know, I don't necessarily respect the rule, but I obeyed it and complied with it, and like, is there a better thing that didn't put a term of professional appreciation or admiration on staff as much as we will be legally compliant with said copyright, trademarks, blah, 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 blah.
That was a great question, so that, you know.
are we going to try to streamline our questions to make sure there aren't duplicate questions between all of us, or
But then
just?
I think we send stuff to Susie and Lee and rely on them to know whether to get answers from the attorneys, or they'll be able to answer something that's more library specific, you know, like library world versus legal, you know, items, or they say, this is an item that the board needs to discuss. Yeah.
I'm so glad we had this discussion because I came in to the meeting really troubled by thinking of this as an action item for today. I mean, there's too much going on in my mind.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, yeah, and Susie and Lee like talked to me about this back in June, as like they were, you know, that they debated about putting it on the June agenda, but with the search firm, they said, you know, maybe we wait till July, and so.
No, I
We
appreciate
thought
that. I
this
know
was
that.
gonna be a lighter agenda, because we're not doing the budget until next, you know, the budget's next
Yeah.
week, so.
We did too. We
Yeah.
did too,
We did, yeah.
I said, wow, there's a lot on this agenda.
So, all right, so Virginia has moved to table until next month. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It is tabled to our July meeting, so August meeting. Yeah, sorry, thank you for that. It is tabled to our August meeting. With that, we have reached our conclusion of our agenda. Before we adjourn, as we get rolling with our search, we get rolling with now our survey, I would just like to take a moment on behalf of the board to really thank Lee and especially Susie for your work. This cannot have been an easy several months that you have been stepped into these roles. You have handled it incredibly well. You have our respect.
Thank you.
And you have our continued confidence and our faith. So, with that, we stand adjourned for the night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will we get?
There will be a revised, formalized one. This was just a draft of one that has been kind of just a standard sample